friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be using some My Favorite Things items to make a box card for an entry into the My Favorite Things Superstar challenge. So this is something I've participated in for the last 3 years. I'm not affiliated with My Favorite Things for this. I just wanted to share with you how I made my box card entry. So I'm starting out with these donut dies. They're so cute. I ordered them over the summer and then never got to use them. But when I ordered them, my kids and I thought it would be super fun to make Halloween donuts. So obviously I had to break them out. I'm also using one of the little hand dies. I'm cutting all of these items, all my die cuts out with Copic Express It paper because I'm going to do some Copic coloring for them later. And then all of my main box card base pieces are getting cut from a heavyweight black cardstock. So I'm just trimming down one whole sheet of cardstock so that I can run each of my pieces through my die cutting machine. And then we're going to add in some of that spooky season pattern paper. I was torn. At first I was going to go with the really bold stripe, the multicolor stripe, but I decided that the really thin kind of wonky stripe on the orange was so cute and it would still bring that Halloween feel without being too much color, because I still wanted the donuts to be the focus of this one. So I cut 2 little side rectangles and the main back panel piece out from this paper. And you can also cut a front longer rectangle for the box, but I knew that I wanted to stamp my sentiment on the front and heat emboss it. So that's what we're going to do for the very front of the box. So I got our kind of accent panel adhered to the main black box card panel, and then started folding in my side pieces. So you cut 2 of these longer rectangles and add some adhesive to the little tab on each of them, and then you can connect them together to create your actual box. And the cool thing about these box cards is that they fold flat to fit into an A2 sized envelope. So this one's not completely flat because I added in some foam tape to my donuts, but I used thin foam tape, so it's still pretty close. I would probably put it in a bubble mailer, but if you knew you were going to ship this and you wanted to be able to send it in a regular envelope, you could just adhere the donuts flat, straight up and down, and it would be fine. So I also knew that I was going to have a little bit of extra room at the top. So I die cut the string part of that banner die from My Favorite Things. And in a minute, we'll cut the little triangle flags that hang from it. But I remembered that I wanted to heat emboss my sentiment at this point. And in an ideal world, I would have done this before I adhered my box pieces together. Because as you can see, with it being a double layer, it wasn't easy to stamp. We'll just put it that way. So I ended up doing 2 layers of heat embossing, but I really like it because it's so bold and bright. Sometimes when I do white heat embossing on black, it feels crackly, or it doesn't get complete coverage. And sometimes there's little black bits here and there, which for a Halloween one especially probably really wouldn't matter. That distress look would fit the theme, but I really wanted this to be bold and very clear. So I just went in and added a second layer of the white embossing powder. And that's the nice thing, if you're heat embossing and you are using a stamp positioner, even if you don't think you're going to have an issue, just don't move your stamp, because that is what enabled me to go back in and make that second layer. So you can see now how bright white that sentiment is. It says, "Have a frightfully sweet Halloween." I'll have all of the items that I used listed down in the description box for you guys, because there were a couple random things that I pulled in to bring this whole card together. But the next step, I adhered that back panel to the inside of the box, and now I'm adding my 2 little shelves, which we're going to use to hold our donuts. So what I like to do is attach the shelf to one side and then close the box or like squish it flat and let the other side attach itself so that you know that everything is lined up properly. So with the second one again, I'm going to squeeze it on one side, press the whole box to the left so that it picks up on the adhesive tab on the other side, and then just kind of press it back and forth to make sure that it's closing correctly. It should fold flat in both directions. It shouldn't really matter which way you fold it. So for my donuts, I decided to go with 3 vanilla and 3 chocolate. I'm going in with my E30 family markers first. I started with an E35 and then 33 and 30 and just worked my way. I wanted there to be a shadow on the outer edge and the center. And most of this does get covered up by the frosting dies, but I think that there's enough shadow showing that it's worth the effort for me to just color in the whole donut. You could adhere these all together first and then color around them. I was just worried that that would get a little bit messy, and that I would get ink somewhere I didn't want it. So I figured I would just color the whole donuts in and then color in all of the frosting and other stuff and then adhere them all together at the end. For my chocolate layer, I went with E20s. They're just a little bit richer. So I'm going super dark for these with the E29, 27, and then I believe 25 was my lightest shade. And it's the same thing, kind of creating like a target where the inside and the outside are darker, and that middle section has that highlight where the donut would be rounded over the top in the middle. This whole card did take a little bit of time, but I was also not rushing through it. I was like watching some YouTube videos and just kind of enjoying the process. So in reality, it probably could have been like an hour-ish card, but it took me about an hour and a half just to level set because I do speed up these videos, and I do cut out a lot of just like excess or times where I'm just like sitting there thinking of things and not actually like crafting. So I always want to be honest and upfront with you guys. I always try to share my struggles and my mistakes with you. So just so you know, I don't craft this fast. It's been a little while since I've been open about how long a card has taken me, besides the scene card we did last week, because that took forever. Again, worth it, but forever. So for my icing, I decided to go with like a black icing instead of chocolate, and then orange, right? I was thinking, I know like Dunkin' Donuts here has like crazy Halloween colored donuts. So they're not like chocolate frosting. It's actual like black Halloween looking frosting. So that's what I went for. And the swirly or like the wavy icing ones definitely look like tires to me, but I don't care because once the highlight goes on and you see them all together, they still look like donuts. So I went with like, I had 3 of the flat round and 3 of the spirally wavy icings. And so I just broke it up so that I had at least one of each color, right? So I have like 2 black spirals and 1 orange, and then 2 orange flat circles and 1 black. So there's a good mixture there. And it took me a minute to figure out how I was going to arrange these, but it ended up working out fine. Then I went in with a white gel pen and just kind of added some highlight marks on that frosting to give it that really shiny look. And on some of these, when we add our drizzle, some of the highlight is going to get covered up, but I don't mind that either because I think that's more realistic that way. I just adhere these together with some liquid glue. This one is the Easy Squeeze from Pink and Maine. And if you don't have a Make It by Mario glue stand, I don't know how you craft because I use it every single day. You can see next to my glue stand, I have one of my favorite Twiddler's Nook trays, and that has all of the little sprinkle bits that die cut. At first I thought I might use them, but then once I added the gel pen, I was worried. I didn't want to color the sprinkles. I was going to leave them white, and I was worried that the white sprinkles with the white gel pen, they would all just get kind of lost and messy. So I just decided not to use them. But I had them in my little tray over on the side in case I needed them down the road, and just telling you now, I don't use them. For the drizzles, I did go in with I think E40 marker, something super light. I just didn't want it to be a completely stark white. So I added the drizzles to the donut and then went in with my tiny detail scissors from Simon Says Stamp and trimmed out the center section. And you can see I did one chocolate. I just did that with the black, like 100 marker for that black drizzle. And then 2 of the white drizzles. And then I wanted to shade in the hand as if it's like, I'm adding the hand to look like this is like a Halloween party and someone is dressed as a witch and she's reaching in to grab a donut. That's the story of my box card. So I wanted her to have green skin and black nails. So I just kind of took my time shading this in, kind of mixing different markers from the G and YG family to get a good bright Halloween-y color combination. Then I went in with black just to shade the nail. And at first I was planning on just doing this, but then I realized that the die set comes with these weird shapes that are supposed to be the like inside, right? It's the other 3 fingers that you would see from the inside. And I'm not positive how I was meant to color them. I'm pretty sure that the way I colored them is not how MFT intended it, but I think it looks fine. So I added some glue, and once it's all adhered together, that part just kind of sinks into the background anyway, and I think it's good. So that one's going to be a work in progress. I'm going to have to play with those hands a couple more times before I feel good about explaining how to color those. But then I added the kind of that ribbon banner to the top, and I'm going to die cut my flags with the black and white striped paper from that same pattern paper pack. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I'm going to put in all of my donuts. So I cut these larger Simon Says Stamp foam squares in half and then added one of the minis just to the bottom so that they would be a little bit on an angle. I wanted them to just be slightly tilted back so that when you see it from like a little more above than straight on, it looks like the donuts are facing you. So I just took my time kind of layering those up and adding them one by one, making sure that I had space for all 3. And I have 2 rows of 3, which was the plan from the beginning. And I added a thicker, bolder foam tape to the hand and got that in place. Like she's just reaching in from the side to just scoop up a little donut. And now I will get the banner ready. So I knew I wanted to use this pattern paper pack again. I just wasn't sure what pattern, and the dots were too big. There was going to be like 1 dot in each triangle. So I decided that the diagonal black and white stripe was the way to go. And when I die cut these, the universe smiled upon me and they all stayed in the die. So it was so easy to just take my embellishment wand. This is a new one that I just got from This Calls for Confetti, and I love it. I love that it has the white tip, so I don't have to worry about getting black wax on my stuff anymore. But it's just beautiful. It has these like black gems inside. I'm really liking it. So if you're in the market for a new embellishment wand, I'll leave that down in the description below. But I got all of those added, and that brings this whole card together. So you can see it still folds mostly flat. This just makes me so happy. You still have another week to enter into the MFT Superstar Challenge if you want to join me. I'll leave a link down to their blog post in the description below. Again, not affiliated with them, just sharing the love because I think it's a fun challenge. I hope that you guys have the most amazing weekend. I will see you back here soon with another Halloween video. And until then, happy crafting, guys.